Hello children and welcome to the session today. Children, we all see plants all around us. Even if they are tiny, they are still plants. These plants can be seen growing everywhere on earth where the ground is soft. Why is the ground soft? The ground is soft because there is soil on this ground. So today in this session, we are going to learn about soil and how it enhances the growth of plants. Children, to begin with, let us understand number one, that all the plants grow on the uppermost layer of the earth. And this uppermost layer is called soil. Now, you may have seen a clear difference between two different kinds of soil. Somewhere the soil may be light in color. At other places, it may be dark in color. Why is it dark in color? Because of the presence of humus. What is humus? Humus is decayed plant and animal matter that is found in the layer above the earth, in the soil. And this layer, rich in humus, is also known as topsoil. It is also very interesting to note that in this topsoil are many different kind of creatures, insects, reptiles and many other animals. Now what do these do? They keep moving up and down in the soil, aerating the soil. So children, how was this soil formed? Was soil always there on earth or was it formed over a period of time? The answer is the latter. Soil was formed over a period of time. So initially on earth, there were huge pieces of rocks. Now, how did these rocks break down? They broke down by a process known as weathering. What do you mean by weathering? Weathering is the process of disintegration of rocks on the surface of earth by the exposure to which agents? Wind, water and sunlight. We know that sunlight is sometimes strong, sometimes weak. So that means this causes a change of temperature. So what become the agents? Wind, water and temperature. Now this process by which there is a transformation in the state of rock physically is known as physical weathering. Sometimes the minerals in the soil are also broken down and new substances are formed. What is that called? That is known as chemical weathering. Now let us look at this picture in your book and understand the different stages of weathering. As you can see in the first picture, the rock is disintegrating. That means it is breaking down. The agent shown in this picture is rain. Slowly, when plants and animals die on this rock, they convert into organic matter, which we just read is known as humus. Now, this humus is formed on the top layer of the soil. As we can see, the stones or the rocks on the topmost layers continue to break into smaller pieces. And slowly we see how a complete horizon or a layer of soil is formed which is rich in humus and promotes plant growth. So children, what are the factors responsible for weathering? The first one is temperature. We know that when heat is applied to anything, it expands. And when the source of heat is removed, that is when the sun goes away at night, what happens? The opposite, contraction. So when a rock continues to expand and contract, what happens? It begins to crumble down under its own pressure. That is how temperature causes weathering. Then we know that strong water current can even move huge rocks. So when the pressure of fast flowing rivers continues to be exerted on rocks, the rocks break into pieces. The next is frost. Children, when there are already cracks inside the rock and water goes inside. At night, when the temperature drops, this water will convert into solid ice. So, solid ice will once again expand, and because of this expansion, it is going to exert pressure. And because of this pressure, what is going to happen? The rock is going to fall apart. It is going to disintegrate. Then wind. We have learned that very, very strong winds blow away rocks and soil particles along with them. So this also becomes an agent of weathering. Then living organisms. Many living organisms living in the soil will give out many wastes. They will give out many acids. These acids will further break down the rocks into smaller pieces. Now, what is this kind of weathering known as? It is known as biological weathering. So, children, on the previous page, we understood that a whole layer of soil is formed that is very, very fertile, rich in humus. What happens to the layers that are below it? We are going to understand it with the help of a video. A vertical section through the soil is called the soil profile. It shows the different layers or horizons of the soil. The uppermost layer of the soil is the darkest in color as it is rich in humus. It is soft, porous and is a home for worms, moles, rodents. It is called the topsoil or A horizon. Just below the topsoil lies the subsoil or B horizon. It is light in color, harder and has little humus. Roots of trees reach this level. Below the subsoil lies the substratum or C horizon. It contains lumps of broken rocks, it lacks humus and hence is infertile. Below the C horizon lies the bedrock. It is solid, hard layer of weathered rock. Water cannot penetrate this layer, hence it accumulates here to form the water. So children, you have learnt about the different layers of soil. Now let us understand what is a composition of soil. So we know that the soil in our garden, if we take it in our hands and just rub it, what does it feel? It feels sandy also. It feels like it has got some tiny pebbles also. And of course, there is humus, the dead decaying plant and animal matter. Now, the size of different soil particles vary, which has been given in a table in your book. So, what are the particles that we have listed here? There is clay, silt, sand, fine pebbles, medium pebbles and coarse pebbles. You know that there is actually an experiment, a way in which we can separate the various components of soil into different layers. So this interesting activity can be taken up in the class and you can actually find out for yourself what are the different layers of soil. Coming next to the properties of soil. So soil exhibits different properties. Different kinds of soil will show these properties differently. So let us first understand about the absorption of water. Now, if the soil is not going to absorb water, where is the plant going to get water from? That is why absorption of water becomes a very, very important requirement. There are plants which grow in soil which require very little water. And there are also plants that require a lot of water. Now, there is an activity given here in your book which actually tells us how to measure the absorption capacity of various soils. Please do this with the help of your teacher in the school science laboratory. The next is moisture in soil. Now, moisture in soil will also decide the texture of the soil. Now, if the soil is dry, the rocks in it are also going to be dry and the texture of the soil is going to be coarse. And if the soil is going to be moist, the rocks are also going to be moist, and if you try to crumble them with the pressure of your hand, you can do it very easily. So, moisture becomes another important property of soil. The next one is percolation rate of water. What is percolation rate of water? So suppose this is a bed of soil and I water the soil. I know that below the topsoil are the bedrocks which have groundwater. And the second thing that we know is that in case a plant wants to grow in soil, this soil should be moist. It should absorb water. That means if the water that I am giving to this soil, if only some portion of it goes into the bedrock, then the percolation rate is low. And if all the water goes into the bedrock, the percolation rate is very high. Now you can judge for yourself in which case, this or this, will the plants grow well. You can actually check the percolation rate of water with this little experiment given in your book. Do not forget to do it. Coming next, children, to the type of soil. So we have just learned the properties of soil. Now these three different types of soil, which are sandy, clayey and loamy, will show different kind of properties. How? Let us understand. On the basis of the size of the rock particles, soil is classified into different types. Sandy soil. The soil particles are large and have large spaces between them. It is very porous and water moves rapidly through it. Hence, it cannot hold much water. It lacks humus. Sandy soil is mostly found in deserts. Clay soil. The soil particles are very small and lightly packed, leaving little space for air. It has a very good water holding capacity. It is sticky and turns hard on drying. It contains mostly clay and a little amount of sand and silt. Loamy soil. It contains equal amount of sand, clay, silt and humus. It has the right water holding capacity and it has adequate air spaces between the particles. It is considered the best soil for growing crops. So the basic idea that we have learned till now is that what are the properties of soil that make it fertile. Now let's go on to the next section of the chapter, which tells us how this fertility is lost. Children, soil erosion is the main reason by which fertility is lost. What is soil erosion? When the topmost layer of soil is blown away or it is flown away by water, it is known as soil erosion. Now, what are the reasons for soil erosion? The first important reason is deforestation. So, when you are cutting the trees, the roots are also coming out. Now, it is these roots which hold the soil. So, in case there is heavy rainfall or heavy storms, these roots continue to hold the soil and it does not go anywhere. But if the trees are not there, there are no roots to hold the soil. What is the soil going to do? It is going to be blown away. The next is overgrazing. So, when animals are made to graze over the same land again and again, it is known as overgrazing. Now, what happens because of overgrazing? The grass is not allowed to grow. When the grass is not allowed to grow, then what will happen? The land will become barren. And barren land is always more prone to soil erosion. So, children, again, because there are no roots, that means, as we just discussed on the previous page, rainfall and flood will take away all the soil. Next is improper farming. When the fields are not cultivated properly, if they are left barren for a long time, or the field is continuously cultivated, then the soil will continue to lose its fertility. And what will happen in that case? The soil is going to go away as it happens in the hills. Now, how can we prevent soil erosion? The first is that overgrazing has to be controlled. There should be different pastures where the animals are taken in rotation. The second is afforestation, which is the reverse of deforestation when you plant a lot of trees. Next comes terrace farming. As you can see in this picture, on hill slopes, Because of terrace farming, when there are heavy rains, what happens? As you can see, if the rain comes down the slope, it is going to take with it all the soil. But here, because of steps that have been made for terrace farming, what is happening? The wind or the rain is not going to blow away the soil. So, terrace farming becomes an important factor in controlling soil erosion on hills. So, children, in this chapter, you have learned how soil becomes a life-giving component of the earth. No soil, no plants, no life. You've also understood the different properties of soil, the different kinds of soil, and you have understood why soil is being destroyed and how we can prevent it. Now, you have to attempt the questions at the back. Thank you.